Welcome back to Marvel Recaps on the Racial Draft Podcast Network. I am your host, Michael Ford, joined by some fun people who want to get cosmic with it. La, 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 la. Joined first by Toriono from the various podcasts in the the Agents of Fandom, the Agents of Fandom community. What's the name of your podcast again, Toriono?
Comic Book Saga.
Comic Book Saga. I will commit it to memory at some point, but not tonight. We're also joined by Carlos from the Racial Draft Podcast. I've heard of him.
Also staff writer at Agents of Fandom.
We are also joined by Gordy. Welcome back to talking about comics and comic shows.
Yeah, random white dude with no other commitments or things to plug. So awesome.
Well, I mean, feel free to plug whiteness at any time. I'm sure they have a substantial advertising budget and they will be happy for some sponsorship. However, we're not here to talk about our standard order white superheroes. Nay. We are talking about youthful, brown, Pakistani, youthful superhero Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel. Now, first of all, what's everyone's familiarity with Ms. Marvel before the show? I guess I'll start with you, Gordy.
I mean, I've read essentially 90% of the Miss Marvel stuff. I've kept up with the books. I have read Champions. I've really enjoyed a lot of it. She's become one of my favorite characters. I guess I haven't played the Avengers game. That's my biggest hole in Miss Marvel fandom.
Okay. And what about you, Carlos?
I've read not 90%, but I've read a good amount. I'm not foreign to this character. I have read the initial run, like that first trade of the initial run, and so. But honestly, like that's kind of like throwing you in and like telling you to swim, because it's like I don't know what Terrigen Mist is. What is that? Like a lot of the lore didn't quite make sense to me. But obviously over the years I've picked up. So yeah, I'm familiar with the character enough to say that this is not like a new introduction for me.
Okay. And Toriono, what about you?
I love Miss Marvel. She is one of my favorite characters. I've kept up with the books. And this is one of the first original run comics. It's kind of in book form. It's issues 12 through 19 in book form. So
for the audio listeners, that's Toriono holding up the trade paperback, or not the paperback, that's the hardcover, it looks like. Those of you who follow us on YouTube, maybe you happened to get the images, but audio listeners just know that it was you got to see what he said. Go on.
Yeah, I've really kept up with Miss Marvel. Like I said, she's one of my favorite characters. And yeah, I mean, I'm very, very in the know. And I just want to see what else they bring to the table in terms of representing what we saw in the comics and, the fresh ideas that they're bringing to the table at Disney.
Yeah. And I mean, in the interest of disclosure, I would say that it took me a little while to start reading the Ms. Marvel solo books. I mean, I probably came more at her through her appearances in other people's books, in the events, in the Avengers books, in the Champions books. And then I went back around, after that and then got into the solos, and I've read all the solos, and I've stayed current in the solos since then. Because a lot of the hook of the character initially was that she was a young character and really resonant for young readers. And from that perspective, I was supportive of the character, but I wasn't necessarily sure whether the character would have fully appealed to me specifically. And then of course, you read the stories and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember what it's like to be a teenager many, many moons ago. So, to that end, that's a great starting point for how you feel. I mean, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you feel that the character of Kamala Khan has been translated by specifically Iman Vellani in the performance? Start with you, Toriono.
If I were to say on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, I would say 10. I think she's shown the comedic timing. She's shown, that youthful energy. She's brought, she's a delight to watch, honestly. Just from some of the even the crane scene that we saw when she came home from school, and she laid down on the couch and we saw that crazy shot that they did with the rig. And just the emotion, she showed like 4 different emotions just in a matter of a few seconds, and it was like, wow, she can really put it on screen for you. So I think she's doing a great job. I'm excited to see more of it, and just to see her really show her energy. She's doing a great job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Carlos?
Yeah, I think they found another Haley Steinfeld-esque kind of very charming, just winning. You want to root for her immediately, sort of character. So our actress, she really just like pops. She's everything that I thought she was going to be when I saw that first trailer. She's really, really exciting for the future of the MCU.
And what about you, Gordy?
Yeah, I mean, even more than, more surprising than Haley Steinfeld, I believe this is her first legitimate big acting job. So, I mean, she's killing it. I mean, I give her about a 9. I want to see a little bit more thoughtfulness, because Kamala Khan winds up being rather thoughtful in most of the depictions of her, but I'm sure we're going to grow into that too. So I'm going to appreciate the journey.
Yeah. And what I would add, I suppose, is that obviously, when you're translating from the page to the screen, it takes additional elements, for the character to pop. And I think that what they're doing with regard to the tone of the show is giving her the ability to show all of her charm and her winningness. I think that frankly, a worse made show might have held her back, might have held her charisma back too much. And and that would have been to the show's detriment. I think that the show's giving her a lot to work with, and she's working with all of it. I think that there are certain things that probably in lesser hands might have come off as kind of cheesy, that she's adding surprising depth to. I mean, I guess it's now as good a time as any to talk about the supporting performances. I think that her chemistry with her family is off the charts. It's super believable as a family, and you don't often get that on some of these well, especially Marvel stuff. But do you guys have anything to add about the family?
I love this family. I need to give Mr. Khan a hug, like the biggest hug. He broke my heart this episode. I that whole the relationships feel lived in, which is insane. Like these people ostensibly probably had just met each other when they started making the show. Like it feels like a family unit. And with the inner politics of like my older sibling will kind of be the go-between for my immigrant parents and me who wants to live the the free, freewheeling American life, all of that. And then like the strictness of, I mean, I understand that this is a a Pakistani show, but a lot of the dynamics, that's just immigrant families across the board. Like, talk to any Mexican family that comes up. My wife is a first generation Mexican, and like this was what we dealt with when I was dating her in high school, like parents who wouldn't let her go out, and the older brother who kind of had to, like, actually about the same age difference too, the older brother who had to kind of be the go-between. It feels very familiar in its specificity.
Gotcha. What about you, Toriano?
Yeah, for me, I love the dynamic, like Carlos said. I really feel like they've shown a lot of chemistry off the bat. Same with her friends as well. And I think that, that just comes with, the development of them reading through table talks and, doing cast readings together. So I love the chemistry that they've shown. I love what they've translated from the comics directly. I believe Abu's first lines are directly from the comics. When he says, "If you continue praying so much, you'll never be full, or you'll never eat." I forget what the direct quote is, but he's had a couple of lines that are directly from the comics, and I believe the mother has as well. So it was just very interesting to see, and it was very heartwarming to see that as well, that they pulled so directly from the source material.
Well, I want to give a lot of props to Zenobia Shroff, who plays Muniba Khan, because there's a lot happening in her performance that I don't think she's going to get enough credit for. She's there again in a lesser show. She might have been presented as much more of a caricature of the strict immigrant mother, and you can see that there's a lot going on in this relationship between her and her daughter. I rewatched, shortly before we podcasted, I rewatched the scene where she, tells her about the the Avengers Con, and the fact that she made the Hulk costume for her, and obviously it's right there in front, the reaction of the father Yusuf Khan, in his crestfallenness, but her reaction was just as heartbreaking, because of you could see the joy in wanting to bond with her daughter, and wanting to sort of bring together, marry like her culture with the thing that her daughter loves, that being the superheroes. And she thought that she was like winning. She thought she was like being this great mother. And then, that the way that, I mean, obviously we understand that Kamala didn't mean it in the way that it came out, but the way it came out was such a sort of slap in the face, and then again you see the cut to the father of how like he's holding like all of his emotions are on his sleeve, but there's just a little bit more nuance in Zenobia's performance of and then later when you see her confronting Kamala after she snuck out, you see the disappointment, the anger, the the worry, which kind of embodies what it means to be a parent. It's not just my kid, I'm being strict because I'm a mean person. I'm being strict because I'm trying to protect you from the world. Now, no, we'll get into the speculation part of things. I believe there's probably more there than meets the eye in terms of what she might know about either the artifact or Kamala herself. But like I said, I mean, I just wanted to take a moment to give props to Zenobia Shroff for really making that chemistry, that whole relationship. Again, we've only been with them for 49 minutes or something like that, like and yet it feels like lived in, like you said, Carlos.
I think I'm going to be a little more optimistic than you. I think she will get her props by the end of the season. because I do think that that's going to be, no matter what the bad guys or the Marvel-ness of it is going to be, the conflict is Kamala and her mother, and the idea that, you know, her mother, like you said, thought, I'm bonding, you know, I'm giving, we're doing this Avenger Con thing with the Pakistani you know, culture infused, but she was still doing it on her terms, and she wasn't really compromising with her daughter. And the, you know, her struggle for the season is going to be, my daughter is growing up and is not, I can't control her. I can guide her and I can trust that I've made a good person, but I can't control her. And so for them to bond, they're both going to have to come halfway. And what she thought she was doing early in that scene was not coming halfway. It was coming halfway without Kamala's input, you know. So it was just like, it's not really a compromise. Right. I think by the end of this season of television, and I don't know if this will be the only season or anything, there's going to,
I mean, I really hope it isn't.
I would immediately, I know I would watch 7 seasons of this. But yeah, you just know, like, you know, episode, what are there going to be, 6 episodes? Episode 5 is going to be the Kamala and her mom talking it out. And
no, episode 5 is going to be the episode where they flash back to teenage Neva,
exactly.
You know,
exactly
and
right.
we find out that, like, it was the inverse of the relationship, where, like, you know, she's trying to, like, do it a different way than her mother, and her mother's like, yo, when you have a child, you're gonna
yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah, so but either way, there's going to be the big, you know, they're gonna have to meet at some point. They're gonna have to butt heads finally and talk it out. And so I do think that her performance, and I think you're absolutely right, like, everyone's focused on Kamala's father and how, you know, because I mean, I was heartbroken for the guy when he comes out fully,
and he's just been adorable in every scene he's in.
Yes,
really.
Yes,
you know?
but you're absolutely right that she's playing those emotions, plus, like, definitely another level of emotion that almost feels like when like in Teen Wolf, when the Michael J. Fox's dad is like, "Oh, you're turning into a wolf." Got it.
It's like, yeah.
So yeah, I think by the end of the season, she will have all the propers.
And it's only right, Gordy, we're going to ask you about Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, but you can talk about Bruno. Gordy, what are your thoughts on Bruno and Kamala's friendship? Sure, let's call it that.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the token white guy now. Got it. No, I mean, listen, it seems adorable. I really like how he gives most of the characters, everything seems familiar while also seeming fresh. You know, he's Booger from Growing Pain, or was that Growing Pains? He's Cockroach from the Cosby Show. You know, all of the things. He's that little annoying kid that was on the Brady Bunch. Oliver.
Oh wow, he's not as bad as Oliver. Damn.
He's Boner on the Growing Pains, not Booger. Booger was Revenge of the Nerds. Boner is why we have Ralph Boner.
Nice.
That's true. That's the reference.
Full circle is what we did here. We're gonna find out that his father is the witness from from Westview.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
I think he's gonna be the astrophysicist myself, but thought process. But no, I mean, they clearly have a chemistry, and that scene of her oceaning 11, of how she's gonna get out of her room and get on the bike. I mean, fantastic, absolutely. Yeah.
And I love his interjections as she's doing that. You know, like, yeah, it was awesome. Go on. Sorry.
No, that's fine. It was was wonderful. The little touches in this show make it feel like this is one of the most comic book feeling things that I have seen since Into the Spider-Verse. Like the text messages being broadcast on the window. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And it's gorgeous, and like I said earlier, it's putting a new coat of paint on something that we've all seen a million times before. And I'm very excited for it, even with my token little white character, Bruno.
And it's so wholesome because they're when he gives her the little pep talk, a little bit of a non sequitur, but we'll let him live. When she goes like, it's not the brown girl that saves the world, and he's like, but you've saved my world. I mean, that's what a slightly like older with more game person would say, but like he had to give her like, but you will save the world because I've seen the other movies.
I mean, honestly, I think it's not a brown girl from New Jersey who saves the world was kind of the non sequitur, because it was like, well, you're just trying to go to Comic-Con. We're not talking about saving the world. I hope that he is, I'm a sucker for high school rom-coms. I will watch them all day and all night. So I do hope that he's like the friend who ends up being like, oh, he was right there all along. And I didn't even...
But you see, we are, I mean, after years of watching CW dramas, I know that this is not what happens in the first season of our CW drama. What happens in the first season is they get really close, and then some super hot guy comes along that completely takes her attention away before he turns out to be a supervillain. And then by the time she realized that he was there all along, he finds himself a girlfriend, and then she has to spend a whole season pretending that she likes this girl.
It's almost like we're asking ourselves, will they or won't they?
It's almost like that. So I mean, again, as someone who has read the comics, I'm thinking that what are we thinking? Episode 3 is when we're gonna get our hot guy or we're gonna wait for episode 4 where we get our hot guy that turns out to be supervillain.
I'll decide not to speak on this topic just because.
I mean, that means it happens in episode 2, people.
I was going to say, Toriono is not that far ahead.
I mean, it is only a 6-episode show, so that's probably right. But we some of us are rooting for these crazy kids. Some of us are shipping Kamala and Miles.
I have seen a lot of people talking about that. They want to see her with Miles very soon.
It's really cool how they want to see her with someone who doesn't exist in the
universe.
MCU.
Well, he does. We just.
I mean, yes, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, if he didn't get blipped, he might be Kamala's age.
I think it's Thor that shows up midway and is the hot guy that turns out to not be right for her. That's my prediction. It's gonna get.
Did you say Thor?
It sounded like he said.
Couldn't tell you said Thor or Gore. Either way, it's inappropriate.
Both of those are inappropriate. Speaking of inappropriate, yeah, I was saying. Speaking of Thor, I was going to transition to the Hammer and then transition to our girl, whose name is escaping me. Is it Zoe? Chloe? Zoe, right? Zoe.
I mean, Zoe? Yes. The answer is yes.
Zoe, the girl
Zoe
who
Chloe.
Zoe Zimmer. There we go. She's played by Laurel Marsden. Interesting energy because it sounds like, based on the way that they made it sound, based on context cues, they used to be friends, but Zoe got popular, and she's out on that. Now, did you notice? I mean, again, I'm not doing the shipping bit. I'm just doing like the familiar beats bit. Definitely Lois Lane Superman vibes there, right? In the sense that Kamala rescues her later, and she's smitten with this superhero that saved her.
Oh, I saw it more as Flash Thompson Spider-Man, but
yeah,
I mean, that's kind of also Lois Lane Superman.
I mean, it's probably. I mean, that's probably where it's going to settle. That's probably where it's going to settle at. But I can see it. Yeah, I can see the Flash Thompson Spider-Man vibes. I guess because Flash is so like, even though he's like he fanboys Spider-Man, like he still tries to like be like not as obvious about it.
Yeah.
Whereas like you had the moment like the second she gets rescued, she's looking over at like my hero, and it's like, where'd he go? I mean, where'd she go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I definitely think that it'll be a mix. I think I think you're right. I think it'll be a mix of the Flash Thompson vibe. I also don't think that she's as much of a well, no, I mean, she was behind the dodgeball thing, right?
I don't know.
Was she?
Did I miss that? I mean, I know she got.
I think she was just making fun of her about that, because I essentially think that there were other people on the side of the gym classroom that were throwing the balls, but they were targeting Kamala.
Oh, because I thought someone was like, you did that on purpose, Zoe. I thought that's what someone said, and she was like, no, I didn't.
That's yeah, it sounds familiar now that I hear it.
So like, I mean, I don't think they're gonna go full on bully, especially because again, remembering the arc from the comics, I think it's gonna be a little bit more of a like I'm popular, you're not deal, and then maybe she becomes less popular and then ends up back with the Misfits,
right?
But and who knows, maybe it's her fandom of Ms. Marvel that kind of takes her down the road of not being one of the cool kids.
Maybe she ends up with Bruno by the end of season 1.
Ooh,
Bruno. I'll show my age a little bit here. I think we're going to Cordelia from Buffy type thing, where she is the popular kid who knows the secret, because I think she clearly knows who that is, and she's still going to hang out and be part of whatever Ms. Marvel's Scooby Gang is going to be here.
Oh, you see, I think it's the opposite. I think she has no idea who it is, and that's why she's like extra intrigued by it. Because I think if she thought it was Kamala, she would just be like, hey, Kamala, that's pretty awesome glow up for you. Literal glow up. Speaking of, no, I don't have a transition. Sorry.
Kamala was surprised that Zoe was there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
she was like, she doesn't even like the Avengers.
Right.
And I like that Zoe was the one who got to wear the classic Ms. Marvel outfit, right. Which is funny because that means that in universe she invented that look.
Right.
That part threw me off so much. It's like in the real world, as of course I'm in the middle of a high-speed chase right now. How are there people who don't like the Avengers? Like, hey, you know what? I wish my grandma had never come back. Those bastards bringing half people back.
I more took it not as that she doesn't like the Avengers, like she dislikes them, but that she's not like an Avengers fan.
Yeah, she's not fangirling.
Yeah. So it's like, oh well, what are you doing at the con? Like, you're not even that big. You're not even that into the Avengers. Yeah. But then again, maybe she's wrong. Maybe she just thinks that maybe it's like a situation where, because Zoe has gotten so popular and because Zoe's on Instagram or whatever the kids are into snapping and chatting, that maybe she just thinks that she's no longer into the same stuff that she used to be into, and that Kamala's into because she's so popular. And then maybe they'll bond over the fact that like they actually are into the same things. She does listen to Kamala's podcast or subscribe to her YouTube channel or whatever. And, and then it's like, oh, well, in fact, we were never that far apart. We're actually, can be friends. I'm already cutting to the face turn is what we're hearing, because we can't have too many of the female characters not be cool. But
right.
Speaking of female characters that actually need a little bit more screen time, Nakia, played by Yasmin Fletcher, we only got like 1.5 scenes with her. I know she's a character that exists in the books. I can't remember what her arc is, I know she's part of their little Scooby gang, but I don't know what she has going on like beyond that in the comics. What do you guys think of her?
I mean, from the books, I remember, I think she was the love interest for our little Bruno for a bit there.
Oh,
So
okay.
I believe, and that ought to be fun. And she seems to have a bit of a presence about her, but it's also incredibly early. I mean, we've seen so it's hard to guess. But for me personally, this is probably the most optimistic I may have ever been for one of these Marvel shows, because I just adored everybody.
Well, everyone is pretty adorable, and again, 49 minutes. They kind of let the show move on at a brisk pace. They don't I don't feel like there was any fat on the burger, so to speak,
Right.
or the steak, so to speak. Do you guys want to talk about the Avengers Con a little bit?
Sure.
There
You
were
mean Easter egg fest?
Easter eggs.
Yeah. We'll get there. First off, would you attend, COVID aside, would you attend an Avengers Con if that was
Oh,
the
no
vibe?
doubt. No doubt. No matter where it's at. I will.
In a world where Avengers really exist?
No, I mean, if that's the vibe, like in our world, of like,
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a little weirder, I guess, in a world where Avengers actually exist.
I mean, there's a Cubs convention every year for the Chicago Cubs who really exist. So I guess the Avengers Con. I mean, it's just weird that it's taken this long.
Yeah.
Well, no, but how far out are we from the return blip? Probably about a year or two.
I'm not even sure. I don't even know.
I think maybe a year at most.
No, we're more than a year.
We're still
think so?
After they beat up all the aliens and sent them away and saved New York.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the Avengers Con should have been going on since there were Avengers.
And
New York was invaded by aliens. There was a black hole over.
Yeah, no. But
Manhattan.
I feel like there's an appropriate mourning time because people did die. Like then you had Sokovia, then you had like people like kind of feeling weird about all the destruction, and then you had the Avengers becoming fugitives. Like I feel like the going from Avengers developing the fan base, to being an acceptable thing for the kids to dress up as Avengers probably takes about 10 years, but then 10 years puts them right in the realm of the Thanos snap, so they're not celebrating that. It's
yeah,
and then
okay. So like Walmart probably had sales for the Battle of New York celebration day, but there is no like Avengers day.
That's how I feel. Yeah. I feel like this is right on time.
Like Avengers a great day to buy a mattress. The anniversary of the Battle of New York. But
yeah, because the merch existed,
right.
Remember, they had the toys, they had they made the joke about the lunchbox. Like the merchandise existed, but to like get to the level where, it's big business, there's, corporate sponsors, like I almost want Avengers Con to be like an in-universe thing that they keep returning to in future stories.
Yes.
Like this year, Avengers Con is going to be in Wakanda. Avenger Conda.
I want there to be like an in-universe like Fegan Kaigi, who makes all of the Marvel the Avengers movies. The Avengers Cinematic Universe.
Oh, that might be too meta. If you can listen, you can only do that in the context of a Wonder Man show,
sure,
because then you can have Wonder Man playing like, Wonder Man and Kingo, like, doing movies together.
Well, I mean, they have in-universe movies, right? Like, isn't there what movie is it where you see like that there are movies about Tony Stark?
Was it No Way Home when he was looking
might be.
There's also
the hotel movies, and there are like Avengers movies out there. Oh,
Yeah,
those
not
might
No
be
Way Home.
documentaries.
Yeah, not No Way Home. I meant Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Yeah, Far From
Yeah.
Home. When they have a Wakanda documentary, they had
Yeah.
a Tony Stark documentary, and then I think in Miss Marvel they showed that there was like a book about Thor.
Okay.
I think there was an Easter egg on that too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a movie, but I think it was a book.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a storyline in She-Hulk about like someone trying to like get the rights to one of the
Right.
Oh, I would love to see somebody trying to copyright or public domain Captain America.
Yeah.
Somebody
Oh.
was trying to get public domain.
Someone's infringing the trademark.
Yeah.
Captain America trademark.
That would be really cool to see.
And then John Walker
honestly.
shows up, is like, "Excuse me, I'm Captain America." And then Sam shows up, like, "What? I'm Captain America."
Oh my gosh, the internet
And
would go
then
nuts.
and then Tony's lawyers show up and it's like, actually, Captain America is a registered trademark of the Stark intellectual property
Right.
corporation, and you have to pay us royalties.
We have the
Howard
rights for
Stark
64
created
more
Captain
years.
America.
Exactly. Oh man, that would be hilarious. Yeah, all of the merchandise, all the Cap merch. Oh man,
I
What
loved
else?
the giant Mjolnir. Like,
I
I was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
yeah.
they got her.
Oh man, that was played for the right amount of comedy.
It reminded me of the bus hitting Regina George and Mean Girls, where you're just like, "Wait,
Oh.
what?"
Oh man, and the people were remarkably chill about the fact that a bouncing Ant-Man head was knocking things over, and then of course the swinging Mjolnir. Yeah, I don't think anyone was actually hurt or trampled at the con. I think the party went on.
I think what we didn't see was that everyone was on Molly. I think that's. I mean, it explains the light situation going on in there, and how everyone was so chill when they were real life Indiana Jones in it.
And shout out to Agent M, social media, Marvel social media personality, for getting them checks, getting those appearances. So do we think Kamala won the contest, or did she? It seemed like she won the contest.
I mean, she better have won the contest, but I think maybe the contest was called off. I think there might have been a rain delay.
Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame. She missed her moment in the sun.
Wait. No. I definitely think Zoe won the contest because, she almost died.
No, you see, Zoe wouldn't want to win under those circumstances, but she's fangirling now after the new Ms. Oh, so this is a good question. Who will coin the name Ms. Marvel?
That's interesting. Bruno.
I almost want to say it's gonna be Zoe.
Really? After she said Nightlight? I thought that was hilarious, by the way.
Oh no, you might be getting into spoiler territory. I might have to cut this out of the podcast.
No, she said that in the first episode.
Did she?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
I feel like Miss Marvel is going to be one of those things like, all right, little Miss Marvel. And then
that's what I'm saying.
But then I'll put that on
Agent
our
Cleary?
guys at Damage. Yeah, Agent Cleary at Damage Control. Yep.
I mean, you might have something there.
Yeah.
It might be Agent Cleary, or I'm just gonna say it's either Agent Cleary or it's gonna be Bruno.
See, but Bruno, the problem with Bruno is that it's such a derivative name that you would not expect Bruno to go there. Like it feels like it's like, oh, you're a Captain Marvel fangirl, like you're like Junior Marvel, you're mini Marvel, and then like someone's like Miss Marvel,
That should be what the name was for winning the contest. You're
right.
Yeah.
Right. You see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm feeling. You get the little sash, it says Ms. Marvel on the thing.
It could also be her guidance counselor, who was amazing.
He was way too cool.
I loved him.
Of a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to represent guidance counselors in such a way. Kids would not have the problems that they had if they had guidance counselors like that dude.
Yeah, as someone with ADHD, I felt so seen by that scene. It's like, it's been 30 seconds. Can you seriously not focus? Because by that point, I would already be doodling Batman in a notebook.
All right. So yeah, what was his name? I'm trying to remember.
Wilson?
I can't even remember.
Mr. Wilson, Gabe. He's like, my father's name was Mr. Wilson. I'm Gabe. Actually, my father's name is Gabe too. So that doesn't work.
Isn't his name the name of one of the creators of Kamala Khan?
Ooh.
I think that's the
last name is Wilson.
I mean, and the G is Gabe.
Yeah.
So yeah, GW Wilson. Oh, did you? I mean, I didn't, when I first watched it, I didn't pause, but we all saw the Easter eggs on the school, of course. The Ms. Marvel creative team in the front of the school.
I honestly, there was so much going on in every shot of this thing that like I did miss a lot of Easter eggs. Like I just had to have. It was actually
show was
very similar
to
to
Rock Stars.
Is that again, Toriono?
I was saying I feel like it was meant for like YouTube and podcasts such as New Rock Stars.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're not going to be a big Easter egg type podcast. So, if we hear some, we'll share them, but it gets to be a lot if we go full Easter egg hunt.
Oh yeah, it's very time consuming. It's very time consuming.
But any other points that you feel like we haven't hit?
Her powers. I mean, like we're kind of, should probably talk about her powers and what's going on with that, because it is,
it's
a topic,
it is a topic.
All right. So, I mean, full disclosure, I still not sold on the powers. I would rather see more before I decide one way or the other on how I feel about the powers. We get this like crystalline thing. I mean, we give her the opportunity to get her Green Lantern on. But yeah, I mean, I'm still, if it works for so far through the show. We don't really know where the powers come from. Obviously it has to do with the bangle. But yeah, I mean, I just think that, so far we're still in that like early first act where we're seeing like just the beginnings of abilities.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the second episode will be where we get a little bit more exploration of what all she can do. Because it's a totally different arc, and I don't want to be that person that's constantly comparing to the comic, but it's a totally different arc when you've got powers where your body changes, whether it's because you're sticking to walls or because you're changing size or what have you, and dangerous powers potentially like hers can be. We definitely will be getting exposure to damage control, and we'll get a little bit more insight into how they work and what their relationship is to powered individuals. And I think that in the context of that, we'll get a little bit more about her powers. Again, maybe not necessarily their origin, but what her limitations are and what her capabilities are.
I am hoping that her powers aren't contained in that bangle, because then that's something that can be
taken off of her.
taken away from her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that it's something inherent that maybe the bangle unlocks or whatever. But
that's what I'm saying. Like as of now,
yeah,
it seems like it's powers that are contained in the bangle and not just something that was unlocked inside of her.
I am also interested, aside from the difference in the way the powers look and the, exactly how they're manifesting, that moment where when she gets overcome by the powers and she like kind of zips into like a purple realm.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Like that, I would like to know what that was.
I don't think we're going to find that out this episode, this coming episode. I think we'll probably find that out in episode 5.
Toriono, if you know or don't know, don't say it either way, or else we will know or not know.
Right.
Yeah, I won't say too much about that. But I do want to say that this isn't a spoiler. This is just me theorizing. I think that the bangle has something to do with either a tie to being inhuman or the bangle being extraterrestrial. Whichever way they want to go with that, whether it's some type of hand-me-down. But obviously they say that I believe it's Nani said that her mother had disappeared or whatever.
No,
whatever
I don't think she says her mother disappeared. I think she just says that her mother had issues with being a up her mind, like her imagination. She mentioned her mother actually a number of times in terms of like her like having her head up in the clouds or getting lost in her fantasies, and that's what leads me to believe that her mother, Kamala's grandmother, went on some adventures as well, and that's another reason that Muniba didn't want her to have the bangle, because you see that we all saw the look, when she recognized it immediately. It's like, nope.
Yeah,
not this again.
Yeah, I kind of something that I clocked was reference to Jin or Jin. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with anything. If they're gonna, because that you have heard that like we're tying it to her heritage. We're tying it to her heritage. Well, does that just mean it's a power that came from her grandmother, or does that mean that it's a power that comes from
mythology?
Mythology, yeah.
Yeah, cultural mythology. I mean, obviously there has been some speculation that there is a Jin factor, and what exactly that factor is, we don't know. Right. Yeah, like you said, there was she was afraid of an evil Jin. That's what her brother says. I'm
trying to remember. I can't remember the exact reference, but definitely was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what the reference was, that her brother said, she slept with the baby sloth when she was younger because, she was scared of a Jin. So
I clocked it the way that like when Mobius talks about vampires and nightmares in the first episode of Loki.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. You didn't talk about that in a way that means that they're fake.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there'll be time to really get into the weeds of like how the powers work, where they come from, what that could mean for future cosmic related Marvel stuff. One thing I will say, without getting too deep into it, we know that she's going to be in the Marvels. We know that it's going to be her, it's going to be Monica Rambeau, it's going to be Carol Danvers. Visually, I guess her powers will look fine alongside theirs. And there's probably room for her to level up.
I've never really understood that argument, the whole like, well, the powers will look good next to each other. Like, did we care about that when it was like Iron Man and Hulk? Like, their powers are not, this one and the same. Like,
true, but I think when it's a smaller group, it's more like you expect to see more like team up deal. So it's kind of like Captain America, Falcon, and Winter Soldier, for instance. Like you've got the land, You've got the, throwing of the shield. Like there's things that they can do kind of like together.
Yeah.
When it's like two people, but when it's like six people, they're all kind of doing their own thing, and then occasionally doing some tag team stuff. Like, I think it's just more of a, again, when it's two or three people, you want to like handle the scaling properly.
Yeah.
And often the question has been asked with respect to Captain Marvel, like, does she even need to team up with anybody?
That's what I was about to ask. Like, what's appropriate scaling next to the woman who, like, Thanos' entire army stopped firing on the Avengers and turned to her because she was the greatest threat?
Yeah, I mean, so that's going to be a challenge, regardless of what Kamala's powers end up being.
Right.
But being able to tell the story that she can somewhat hang, I would imagine, is important. However, again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because we're people who want 3, 4, however many seasons of this show. I kind of want her to stay street level, so that she can still deal with high school problems.
I kind of want her to be the MCU's, like, I mean, obviously they have one, but I want her to kind of be the MCU Spider-Man. Like, that's kind of what I want. I
mean, that's what she is.
Yeah.
She's a modern Spider-Man, except she's a girl and she's Pakistani and she lives in New Jersey City instead of New York, but like the beats are similar.
Yep. Very.
So, Sony controls Spider-Man, but Kamala can be that, and kind of want that for her.
Yeah. And just to say it, I feel like they've got the perfect actress as far as age-wise, to be able to pull that off for her to, to be in multiple films, be in her own television series, long-lasting, and to appear in other television series as well, kind of be, the new Spider-Man, like you guys said, as Doctor Strange is kind of like our new Iron Man. So,
see, she's more Spider-Man than Doctor Strange is an Iron Man.
Yeah,
I can see that.
But
it just seems so like it felt so much like, oh, this is what they would have done had they had a Spider-Man to pitch, to unveil, not on Sony's timetable.
And the funny thing is that, like, if you look at the credit sequences in the Spider-Man movies, there's similarities.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird because I never think of them like this way in the comics, because they're not. But like, they're in the same generation, Peter and Kamala, at least in the storylines.
Right.
But it would make sense that visually, culturally, they make the same kinds of jokes and have the same kinds of vibes. Like, I kind of feel like Bruno and Ned would get along.
Yeah.
And
getting back to like the credits of it, like, the other thing to talk about is the way that this looks unlike any other Marvel thing that has ever been. Really? Like,
what do you mean?
This feels like it actually reminds me of 2 Edgar Wright projects. It reminds me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Like, I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's what a lot of people were like. It's kind of like Scott Pilgrim. Yes, like there is a sort of like, we get to see the world through a daydreamer's eyes, but it also is reminiscent of another Edgar Wright project, Baby Driver, in the way that, like, that text message conversation she's having, where you're seeing the words pop up on the windows or on the street. That is straight out of Baby Driver. Like, when he goes to get the coffee and all the lyrics to the songs are just written on the walls or whatever. The thing with me,
I guess with me, Baby Driver's so about the needle drops and less about the visual motifs that I didn't even clock that.
I feel like there's a same sort of like whimsy to those 2 particular I mean, actually all Edgar Wright projects, but those
Yeah.
two in particular have that kind of shared, like, we don't quite take place on Earth quality. And this story has that, but it's totally because it's the lens of a 16-year-old dreamer. And I totally dig it. I think it's incredible. I am so for shows looking their own way, and like, don't worry about how they're all gonna, come together. Handle that later. Let it be its own thing now. And I totally dug it.
I mean, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it was still the same color palette.
You know what? It kind of is, but like it kind of isn't. Like the especially like the nighttime shots, like the where they're on the rooftop, which I thought was weird. She's not allowed out, but she's hanging out on rooftops in the middle of the night with Bruno.
Well, Bruno's earned his way into the trust circle, apparently.
Sure. That didn't necessarily feel Marvel palette. It did feel it actually, like, it felt more Technicolor to me. Like it felt
still feel like Atlanta to me. I don't know. Definitely didn't feel like Jersey City.
Atlanta, New Jersey. Jersey City, Georgia.
Oh yeah, I gotta say the worst line of the episode, or exchange of the episode, when she leaves her bike out there and she's like, is it gonna be here? Come on, you grew up in Jersey your whole life,
right?
There's no way you asked that question,
right,
my friend.
Yeah, what an awful bus driver. Jesus. She's like, you're closing the door on her.
I mean, that's believable.
That was believable.
That's believable. What's not believable is the fact that, like, she thought that her bike would be, like, she even entertained the idea
there was even a chance.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Yeah,
there's no shot.
Yeah.
She didn't even put one of those like bike clubs on it. Like, it's just laying there. It's a gift.
Yeah. At that point, you just call your friend and be like, hey, I don't know if it's going to be there. Could you swing by this intersection and try to get my bike? Because otherwise.
Yeah. I love how she goes through the whole plan. And then afterwards, Bruno's like, so take the bus. That's your plan.
That's the proper way to handle an elaborate heist sequence. And I love how she was 2 hours off the pace, without alcohol involved, how are you 2 hours off the pace?
Right.
She was 2 hours? I thought she was like 40 minutes off the pace.
No, she was supposed to be back at like 9:22.
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about the time she got back. Oh, I thought you were talking about the time like before she got
No,
on
I was
bus.
talking about the time she got home. She was supposed to get home by 9:22, and she gets home at like 11:15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, no, you are not. That is not how you escape curfew, my friend. But I mean, listen, it hit the right beats, familiar beats for those of you who read the comic, but that's not a bad thing. It just means that the it was laid out. I mean, I didn't realize, or maybe I knew but didn't know, that Sana Amanat is one of the executive producers on the show. So there you go, co-creator, getting to work on the adaptation. It helps that she's also an editor, so she's got the clout. She's not getting fired. She's not a freelancer because she's a salary employee. But details. But yeah, I mean, if this is the blueprint of how to take one of the modern characters and bring them to live action, bring on the America Chavez live action series. Sorry, I had to do that.
I didn't say it.
Ooh, mama.
But man, it was right there.
I mean,
it's right there.
Had to do it. We don't have to listen. We don't have to acknowledge anything that happened in that movie. It's like a spell happened. She just do whatever she wants.
Were there any references to Spider-Man in the Avengers Con? No, right? Because it's Sony.
That was that I was shocked that there wasn't even like the tiniest reference to Spidey.
Yeah, there was no reference to Sam Wilson, Captain America. There was no reference to Shang-Chi. There was no
Well,
reference.
Shang-Chi makes sense because like
No
he hasn't
one would
really
know Shang-Chi.
yeah, he hasn't really had
Yeah.
his public he hasn't had his public like breakout yet.
Yeah, like his big moment
In terms of
happens
being
in
an
another
Avenger, yeah.
dimension.
Or his big moment happens on a bus on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, but
You
it,
know,
not
like,
enough
he's
to
not-
be an Avenger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not enough to
exactly.
be an Avenger.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Were there people dressed up as? I mean, they had like the stuff, the giant statue of Ant-Man, but I didn't really see anybody like Wasp.
No, there was some Ant-Man Wasp stuff together.
There was okay.
Yeah, clearly
But-
Thor, clearly Hulk. I don't know about Hawkeye. I don't know if I saw Hawkeye.
I didn't
have to go
see any
back.
reference to Hawkeye.
I mean, he was part of the whole like sequence, but that wasn't Avengers Con though. When when she does the reenactment
Oh,
of
right.
the
Mhm.
I'm sure there was a Hawkman Easter egg. I mean Hawkeye Easter egg. There were definitely Dora Milaje Easter eggs. There was a Valkyrie Easter egg. I think that we'll find that there were nods to everyone except Spidey because they want to keep the door closed just in case they don't re-up the deal.
Right.
But again, their Operation Young Avengers is in full effect.
For sure.
If I might plug my piece.
It's like, go ahead and plug yourself.
Yeah.
Wait, don't plug yourself. I don't want to see.
I mean,
It's a great read.
If that's what you want to do, that I approve of your own, so your business. But I had a piece for Murphy's Multiverse where I talked about potential young Avengers and the roles that they may play, the dynamics of the team, and I sort of heat mapped the likelihood of the characters we've seen so far showing up as part of a Young Avengers team. And Kamala, I'm still on the fence about because I think that her story could go either way. I think she could be part of a Young Avengers team, or I think she could also just be a young character that interacts with the older heroes. So we'll see how it plays out. And I definitely think we won't know for sure until after the Marvels.
I mean, we just got the announcement today that there is a director for a Thunderbolts movie that had not been announced up to this point. So clearly all of the speculation that we have been doing since basically
Phase kicked off.
Yeah. Basically, at least since Loki. If not, that there would be, definitely from WandaVision because of her sons, that there would be these other teams, these Young Avengers, these Thunderbolts, what have you. Clearly that's rounding into form. So, Kamala's got, I think she's got a spot. I think that you kind of probably at this point, whether you were planning to or not, you probably kind of build a thing around her because Iman Vellani is a star.
Very much so.
Yeah, but so is Kate Bishop. So is like. Wait, are you guys still here?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you just know so my comment. I was thinking that you weren't here.
I was waiting for you to finish your thought. I didn't want to.
No, I mean, Haley Steinfeld is what I was also trying to say.
Sure.
Is that like she's been in movies. I mean, she's got a little. I mean, what you don't want to do, in my mind, is you don't want to have it be like a struggle between like who was the focal point of the Young Avengers project. And I think that there's a way that she could get either lost in the shuffle if there's not enough storyline for her, or everyone else gets lost in the shuffle because they don't really know the proper way to have their dynamics connect with hers.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, too, you would be building, as much as I love Haley Steinfeld, you're building a team around a character with no powers.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's the Batman problem, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you have the character with no powers, and then you have the characters with powers, but she's the leader because she can see all the angles and stuff, like, and see how everyone can work together and be the best team that they can be. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the storyline that you would have for a non-powered hero with everyone else having powers.
Mhm.
If you introduce potentially the most powered hero, or up there,
Yeah.
then her story has to be different. And then the question becomes like, what role does Kate play?
And what role does America Chavez play? Because it's like, we got to fight these whatever blah blah blahs on Earth. What can you do? I can leave Earth.
Yes.
And so far, nothing else.
Yes,
Great.
the America Chavez story is probably going to be. I actually have more powers. I just haven't shown them yet.
Right.
Just help me figure them out.
Oh yeah. When I'm among friends, anything is possible. And
Yeah.
new powers are blossoming. And the thing is, because America would be the youngest, like assuming no Kamala Khan, they'd have the opportunity for the older young female heroes to be like, when you're of a certain age, your body goes through certain changes.
Right. Maybe that's what triggers it. Maybe it's like, maybe she sees in Haley Steinfeld what the rest of us see in Haley Steinfeld. She's like, I can fly.
Oh wow, that would be an interesting spin on.
It'd be like Disney really going for it.
Whatever it takes to unlock.
When you're scared, you can punch holes in the multiverse. When you're horny, you can fly, and you're super strong.
Yeah, you're really limited in the range of powers tied to your emotions. But yeah, I mean, I suppose we could continue do our like Young Avengers watch. Let's do that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in Kamala Khan and the Young Avengers? And we'll change it up each week or stick with what you have. So I'm going to stick with my 5 out of 10. Not sure. What about you, Toriano?
I'm gonna go 7.5. I
Okay.
feel like it's very likely, but also with the Marvels, it kind of muddies things up in terms of perspective and how big of a scale she will be as a hero. Will she stoop down, or will she just have like a supporting role in the Marvels? We don't know that yet. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And what about you, Carlos?
I'm going full 10.
Full 10.
If there is a Young Avengers, they've made her 16. They've put her in that right age that she'll still be.
But everyone else is in like the early 20s.
Yeah, well, but if we do, okay, so the issues are she's definitely older than America, younger than Kate Bishop, but also, yeah, okay, let's say she's in the Marvels. I mean, she is in the Marvels, and it's a big cosmic story. It's not going to be a bigger scope than America Chavez traversing the multiverse to escape Wanda, who is attempting, to steal children from another universe by using the Darkhold, which then gets destroyed across the entire multiverse. Like, I just feel like.
I hear that, but we all know the part that she had to play in that story.
Yes, it's true.
Was one of a MacGuffin.
Yeah. There's a lot of Scottish representation in America Chavez. America MacGuffin.
Yeah. So this would be an opportunity for America to expand beyond the MacGuffin role.
Right. But yeah, just to all that to say, America Chavez will have also been in a pretty big stakes story. Mm-hmm. So it's not a scaling issue that I necessarily see. I think that, I don't think you put together, even if you were planning on it before, if you're doing a Young Avengers and you don't put Iman Vellani in that, if you're Marvel, it's like, what are you even doing? She's
I mean,
She's young and a star.
you're doing 5 seasons of Ms. Marvel is what you're doing. And the subscribers are never going away from Disney Plus. So and
Well,
she
then
still
I mean
pop-
that
and
also
she's
flies in the face
and
of
she
like.
pops up in movies whenever.
But that's
they
the other
need
thing
her
is
to.
like, okay, well, is the Marvels a movie? Because if it is, and it's that big of stakes, then how could you possibly bring her back for television?
Mhm.
Everyone knows that's a step below film, cinema.
I mean, exactly. So yeah, I mean, again, we reserve the right after every episode to tweak our number, see if it goes down or go. Well, you can't go up from 10, but we'll see. We shall see. But again, top marks for Iman Vellani, top marks for the show, and you know, uh, we'll be back next week. We'll be seeing where things go. Toriono will hopefully be able to speculate because he won't know what happens in the next episode, and that'll be fun.
Oriana, how does this work? Are you going to get more screeners?
I do believe I get another round. I haven't been informed yet. I don't know if we'll be getting the full series before everybody.
Probably not
or
the
if we were
finale.
just
That's
getting the
like they tend
initial.
not to do the finale.
Yeah,
That's
but
cool.
I'm not completely sure.
Cool.
Oh, well, we'll just work out some kind of code, so that Toriano will like not spoil anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying my best not to, but I'll be able to talk in depth about episode 2 once you guys have seen it. I haven't seen episode 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 yet, so
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see how things go.
How about this?
All
Going forward, you got to do it more. You got to do it even on stuff that you don't know about. You just have to say, I plead the 616. And then we'll be like, oh, okay, this may or may not be spoiler territory. But you also have to do it for stuff that you don't know about so that we never are really sure.
Yeah, you can't use that as, especially if it's like a yes or no question. You can't be like, I can't answer that. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay.
So this is where we'll leave it, listeners. Hopefully you hung out with us for longer than we thought. We talked more than the episode went for. We've been known to do that. Hopefully you'll join us next time. Hopefully we haven't figured out a name for this podcast, but by the time you see it on the feed, we'll have a name for the podcast. But until next time, keep on stretching.